But the fight game, the arts, the people who love what the science of this
is, sweet science,
it gets engulfed by the circus. But I didn't want to go as long as I have without mentioning the retirement of Jon Jones, one of the great athletes of my time and one of the great disappointments. I do not understand how a fighter of that magnitude, one of the best pound-for-pound people I've ever seen in the fight game, 50 years, how he would have the demons that he would have that would prevent him from, being remembered like George St. Pierre or Anderson Silva or whoever it is that you consider the best of all time. He retired so quietly while looking like he was ducking a heavyweight fight at the end of his career, and it was not the punctuation that a champion of that magnitude deserves, but his excellence is just marred by the amount of medicating that he was doing that made him reckless and specific to the fight game as an individual brand that has some demons, because how do you think these people climb to the top of fighting other human beings for a living? They're going to be demons all around the disciplines.
It could be posturing, though. Don't you believe? He's taken extended leaves of absence, and sometimes it's because of suspensions. He has publicly been posturing for a mega fight inside of the UFC. It could be a part of that. To your earlier point, there is a bit of a dip in stars. They were running and they were building guys up, guys like Izzy Adesanya, but then they kind of fall off. We saw it recently. Sean O'Malley was thought to be a star. He kind of falls off. Right now, Topuria, the guys aren't really. Pereira is probably the biggest star of that bunch in terms of title holders right now. They're trying to build guys up successfully, I think, with Paddy the Batty. That's someone you should keep your eye on.
No, they did it successfully, but it was bogus, and they do have a problem. I don't want to bury
It's not being bogus with Paddy the Batty. Like, I'm done doing that narrative. He's proved his bona fides, and he's proved to be legit, and now I think he's certainly worthy of it. But I get, like, the skepticism. I was there, too, with a hype machine around him. But this happens to the UFC. They have a lot of stars leave or retire or fall off, and they have to build back up. And I think what's happening right now is one of those build back up phases.
Isn't it skeptical when any fighter or boxer who's aging says he's retiring?
Yes, but he's 37. This is a fight for him to avoid. The last 7 months would have been the time to sort of cash in on this. And when it comes to negotiating with Dana White, I expect the labor to perpetually be screwed. It's the business model.
Yeah, the Aspinall fight is one of those fights that could
everybody wants it,
breathe life into UFC.
But I also don't blame him for avoiding it. And at 37, that's not a weight class that I want to see him at. Like, he's the best light heavyweight I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I don't need to see him challenged as a heavyweight. He chose the right path with two guys that he knew he could beat the last two fights.
He also had a pretty badass send-off, if that's the last time that we saw him, and he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time, well within his rights.
Stipe was retired when he beat him. He doesn't want to fight the type of I wouldn't want, if I were him at 37, I wouldn't want to fight the top heavyweight either.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. He's at an age where I think his legacy is pretty well cemented, and because it's already way complicated anyways. And I think everyone would concede, even if he loses to Aspinall, that that's the greatest fighter they've ever seen at the height of his game. And he's still a what-if cautionary tale, which is wild.
Ariel Hawani says, I'm tired of beating around the bush. I don't want to hear the GOAT talk when it comes to Jon. I'm sorry, you cannot be the GOAT if you have multiple PED infractions on the record. You cannot be the GOAT if you didn't want to do what others did for you. Time-honored tradition, you fight the top contenders. Not only was Tom Aspinall the top contender, he was the interim champion for almost 2 years.
Is that unfair?
No, that's more than fair.
No, it is fair, but it is also, to me, a little bit difficult to do legacy talk on someone that I'm saying to you is a pure talent. What I'm watching, really loving the fighting game, is as skillful and artful a magician as I've ever seen do it, marred by an assortment of drug infractions and recklessness, and now at the end, punctuation that feels like cowardice when this man was afraid of no one. This man had legit. You can say he's not the GOAT if you want, but this was a man everyone feared fighting. No one knew how to beat this human being. The only way he could be beaten was his own demons with his recklessness away where the drugs would get a hold of him.
Whose balls are juiced?
We were talking about signature moves in athletics and who has a move that sticks in your mind. Jon Jones' spinning back elbow, just the most ferocious weapon in the history of combat sports.
Regardless, Tony's going to be in Vegas this weekend doing the UFC fight because he has made that into a hustle around. He really loves what he's doing.
Really
on
popular. It
Saturdays.
does well too, and it's a fun watch. You learn a lot. It's not your traditional oohs and ahs of a watch along. You're getting really good analysis as well.
Remember Dana White told us that UFC would be bigger than the NFL?
Well, I said it would be the biggest sport in the world, and internationally, it's a giant. Look, I know everyone listening to this knows what my problems are politically and otherwise with the UFC. Dana White is a bully. It's been a bummer to see him rise to power on a carnival barker crusade where he's got a monopoly, and what gets chewed up is the athlete because it's no unions, and you got champions like living in the car and stuff. I don't think I'm that's probably an oversell, and I shouldn't say it that way if I don't have it on me, but there are just details on how it is even these champions have to work because the pay's not good enough. This is a brutal way to make a living, Stugotz. We lose sight of it, right? When you get all the pay-per-view and what you're throwing into the machine, more fights than ever, is a diluted product, and it's all meat. It's go fight each other and injure each other. You're fighting for money. It's caged, barbaric spectacle, and I've always loved the bravery and people willing to do that in front of others when it's just them, no teammates, and you're fighting your fear in front of people. It's gladiator.
Can I throw a theory at you? When is the UFC media rights deal up? Expires at the end of the year. This is a pretty good leverage point for Jon Jones because how does Dana want to impress a new broadcast partner with a brand new deal? I'm sure every negotiation that he's having with a potential broadcast partner is, can we get the Aspinall Jon Jones fight? If you're Jon Jones, now's a perfect time to pull this move and say, I'm done forever, because it maximizes your own leverage as UFC is negotiating, possibly invoking your own name in these broadcast rights deals.
Do you know how crazy it has to make the fighters in UFC to see McGregor make $100 million over there, to see Ngannou make more than he ever made in his fighting career in UFC? Boxing spectacle, go get the pay-per-view money. It's been jarring to see the business jostled like that on both fronts. Do you guys, I know a lot of people think of me also as whenever I say anything anti-ESPN, they're just assuming it comes from a source of bitterness. But when it comes to the ESPN Plus app and the complaints MMA fans have of, you're making me sign up for a Windows 98 app, and then I'm just signing up for the right. I don't want ESPN Plus. I'm just signing up for the right to then pay-per-view what is a now diluted product that they blame ESPN for. Is that a fair criticism? I'm not on ESPN Plus, so I don't know how advanced it is or it isn't.
You get plenty of free cards that come with just your ESPN Plus membership, and that also gives you all the other sports that are on ESPN Plus well within their rights to charge a premium for a premium live event like a big-time UFC card. It has been rumored that there's not going to be one standalone home, that they're going to try to divvy up the television rights. TKO kind of learning a little bit from their WWE side of the business. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of promises he's making. What is their flagship home? What kind of cards will go on other broadcasters? Will those other broadcasters feel like they're second banana when it comes to these conversations? It's combat sports. You can't really guarantee. The only thing that you can guarantee is bigger names. And right now, they've got a name problem.
Can you guys please find for me, and also it doesn't help when all the guys from Russia want to take it to the ground and pound you, and it's not an entertaining
style of fights haven't been
great.
An
entertaining style.
But that's why Paddy the Batty, you got to kind of root for him. At first I was like, this is all phony. They're just feeding him cheap guys to try to get him over and do this Conor McGregor redux. No, he shut me up promptly in the last two fights.